Hey everyone, Peter Fenger here, and I've got exciting news. On March 19th, we're hosting the Triad Mental Health Summit Series. This event is online and completely free to attend. This summit will feature Owen Marcus, co-founder of MELD, and Sheetal Shah, CEO of Mental Health Partners, two innovative experts exploring the intersection of somatic therapy and modern AI tools for healthcare transformation. This dynamic experience will offer practical strategies for supporting men's health through embodied somatic practices, alongside cutting-edge insights into utilizing AI to enhance healthcare outcomes. Participants will explore how somatic approaches and technology-driven solutions can work to improve care outcomes. Plus, for those looking to stay ahead for professional requirements, CE credits will be available for attendees. Shirley and I will be hosting live and performing interactive Q&A sessions with each speaker, so you can go deeper on what matters most to you. This event isn't just professional development, it's a chance to connect with a community of practitioners who are growing alongside this field. So head over to triadhq.com/TSS to see our full schedule and register for free. That's triadhq.com/TSS. I look forward to seeing you there. Welcome to Behavioral Health Today, a podcast brought to you by the Triad Network. This podcast is designed to share trending topics occurring within the world and our communities and bring them a behavioral and mental health perspective. Welcome to Behavioral Health Today. I'm your host, Peter Fenger. My guest today is Hiroko Yoda. Hiroko is a Tokyo-born cultural historian, writer, and journalist who specializes in bringing Japanese spirituality, folklore, and traditions to English-speaking audiences in a fun, accessible way. She is certified Shinto cultural historian and former Miko shrine dancer, and has published numerous books exploring Japan's rich spiritual and cultural heritage. Over 2 decades, she's co-founded AltJapan Co, Ltd, helping Japanese creators in video games, anime, manga, and film share their work in the world. Hiroko blends deep cultural knowledge with playful, practical approach to spirituality, making ancient traditions relevant for today's lives. Hiroko is also the author of 8 Million Ways to Happiness, a beautiful exploration of joy through the lens of Japanese spirituality and culture. Drawing on Shinto ideas of kami, the countless unseen presence said to inhabit the natural world, the book invites readers to move beyond rigid ideas of belief and instead engage spirituality as a practical, flexible companion through grief, transition, and everyday life. Blending personal story with cultural history, Hiroko shows how small rituals, respect for nature, and a spirit of play can help us feel less alone and more supported even in certain times. I'm excited to have Hiroko with me today, where we'll explore how Japanese spirituality, folklore, and everyday rituals, from the idea that everything has a spirit to practices for renewal and joy, offer flexible, practical ways to cultivate happiness, navigate grief, and reconnect us with unseen forces that support our lives. Hiroko, so happy to have you on our show today. Welcome.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Oh, likewise. I so appreciate you being able to share your book with me because I've had a chance to dive into it. And one of the things that I really want to compliment you on is just the way that you've written your book. It's so brilliant, being able to weave sort of your own personal experience with some of these concepts. I just thought it was a really beautiful way to kind of weave those stories together.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, thank you that you noticed that part, the formatting. The formatting issue was one of the most difficult hurdle that I had when I was writing a book. No, when I decided to write this book.
Yeah.
I always wanted to write about the Japanese spirituality because I've been always interested in Japanese culture, history, and tradition. I co-authored with my husband. It's a 3 books trilogy about yokai, Japanese monster, and ninja, and everybody knows, and Yude, the ghost in Japanese folklore. Those 3 things are closely to Japanese culture and history, and sometimes in tradition or the worldview. So it was a matter of course to write about kami, spiritual beings. Always, but I knew that writing about the spiritual beings, it's a big subject. It's a spirituality, and it also, I believe, it's a foundation of Japanese culture. So that trilogy was fun guidebooks with manga like drawings. So it's fun, but it's the content was focused.
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't do this with the spirituality.
Sure.
So the format issue it's a really headache.
Yeah.
But and then it was my agent who suggested memoir. And with that idea, it just really came to me like out of the blue. I didn't expect it at all. And to be honest, I felt kind of resistant first. But then I started looking back. Dive research about spirituality began with my mother's passing, which happened in 2008. So it actually started making sense to me to write in the format of memoir. And the good part of the writing a memoir is you can bend. My book is, you read like a travel log. I traveled on many places to talk to a lot of people.
Yes.
And some part, some part you read like the, history. Because in order to understand the Japanese spirituality traditions, you have to have basic and historical background. So some part is history. So the writing a memoir, it's like having a wild card, but it was just the decisions to make and struggling. So thank you very much that you noticing it.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the backstory there because it shows the meaning behind it, right? So you had this event, your mother's passing, and it was really that story of grief that led you to sort of this interest or discovery into Takumi, right? And as you sort of describe the book and you sort of describe your own personal experiences as a Japanese cultural historian, as a video game translator, you really sort of connect those experiences with that history that you're describing. And again, it's a very beautiful way that you're writing it, and it's very entertaining. And I so appreciate having a chance to read it because it was nice to be able to kind of turn my brain off and just absorb it all. I know, other books that I've written, it tends to be a little bit more academic or there's a little bit more processing, reflecting. Your book was just a real pleasure to read.
Thank you. Yeah, another reason that I decided not to use specific names is that I want the readers to reflect on themselves. Whenever they find something resonate them. So I refer my mother as my mother. My father is my father. Because, having parents is not Japanese culture. It's everybody has. So yes, once again, I'm glad you noticed it too.
And I think that the some of the details in it that really connect the humanity piece of this.
Yes.
Again, that just kind of like ripples throughout it as you're telling your story, as you're creating these meanings. It just feels very human. And you're right. There are a ton of chunky bits where I was like, huh, that's very interesting. Oh, I love this application. And not only are you sort of taking these concepts, but you're sort of putting it in an example or giving sort of a demonstration on how you're applying this. You're going through these traditions, how it means something to you. And I just thought it was a very beautiful way that you've written it.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to bring different perspective, bring different worldview.
Yeah.
You see, I've been working as a translator, localizer for a very long time. And that work lets me focus the word, the meaning, the behind each word. Because language is connected to culture.
Culture, yeah.
And kami, for example, it's just a tiny example, but huge, huge subject. Kami in English is spiritual beings, but usually the stereotypical translations for kami is God, small g, G-O-D, and multiple gods, so gods.
Yes.
But the thing is that the word God is English. Now that word has a totally different worldview, which is Judeo-Christian worldview. There's hierarchy, an absolute God, capital G, God on the top, based on the faith, based on the belief. And there's a dogma, and so on and so forth. You can explain to me, kid, much better than me. But anyway, so it's absolutely different from kami. So it's a different, totally different worldview, and I just wanted to share it. It's just a different perspective.
No, and I thought it was such a beautiful understanding of the world, because oftentimes when we think of spirituality, we recognize there is a piece of intelligent design in everything, and the beautiful piece of being able to define each and every spirit is that you give a sense of respect to that particular moment. It's not just one creator, although you're explaining that there's sort of a hierarchy to it, but that there is beauty and design to each of it, and there's a sense of respect that's owed.
Yes. Yeah, so I want to explain the very basic big picture.
Thank you. Please. Thank you.
There's a concept, the old concept called Yaoyorozu no Kami. The Kami, once again, means Spiritual no Kami, means 8 million spiritual beings. And 8 million here doesn't mean exact number. It simply means infinite or many. And at the times of old Japanese people thought that everything surrounding them has a spirit. The sun, the moon, soil, trees, wind, oceans, everything, even the words they spoke. And that concept, it is still pretty much active today, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the Japanese people believe or worship those things, but we feel sense of it. And that term, the 8 million, the Yaoyorozu no Kami, comes from Shinto, but it's much bigger than that. It's our worldview, and it's the foundation of a culture. The thing is, because there are so many, the infinite number of spiritual beings, so there are even the Kami, spiritual being of plague, Kami of poverty, and the Kami of even toothaches. And it not necessarily mean that, we worship those bad things, but it's a gentle reminder that those bad things exist. So we have to deal with it somehow. And then so in this worldview, everything is equal in existence. So it's a different worldview.
I guess my understanding is how does this understanding of the world sort of shape you growing up?
Yeah, okay, so this is another interesting thing. That as I said, that the Japan's heritage is the polytheistic view and animism, but there's no Sunday school like here in the West. And there is a clear separation, strict rule, the separation between church and state in Japan. Anyway, so there are 3 major belief systems in Japan: Shinto, Buddhism, and Shugendo. And those 3 belief systems are equally influence our spiritual traditions and culture. Okay, now, have you ever visited Japan before?
I have not, no, but it's on my bucket list.
Okay, when you visit Japan, you will find that convenience stores are everywhere. Okay, just really, like Tokyo, for example, it's just almost each corner you find convenience store. It's very ubiquitous. But the number of convenience store is 3 times more than the number of temples and shrines. Okay?
Yeah, right.
And those are most of them are open to public. Anybody can go in as long as they show in a respectful manner. So we are so surrounded by temples and shrines, and it's such a fabric of life. So we basically pick it up by osmosis, just watching the parents as they watched their parents. We just do, and not really religious or anything. We just do. Just go in and show respect, or simply checking out, or just to have a moment in a relaxing time.
Yeah, so I know that you have really positioned your book
Mhm.
on this quest or the discovery of joy, right?
Yes.
And joy and happiness.
Hmm.
And, just to sort of dive into some of the details of your book, you're quoting Hayao Miyazaki and Yukio Mishima, questioning whether or not happiness should be a goal, right? And just as you're sort of describing this culture as learning through osmosis,
Hmm.
from the Japanese perspective, what is happiness if it's not something to chase directly?
Right. I don't know about Japanese, but I personally, I really think that and also those people, that happiness is many different things
Mm.
to many different people, and it's all perspective. In my book, I quoted the 107-year-old master of calligraphy, and she said that it's a perspective. So, someone's happy place can be someone's hell. Yeah, so she said that the place where her happiness is just keep working on calligraphy until she passes, and then she said, the person who hates calligraphy is a sheer hell. So it's a perspective, and then also the definition of happiness doesn't have to be one thing. It could be it could be a process, could be a goal or a goal or the goal or multiple the multiple things, and that's another reason I love the term the 8 million in a concept, because it's infinite. It's easy to to stick to one thing, and it's like, oh no, and just go freaking out. But it's just that's it doesn't have to be that way. It is always multiple. There's always something out there, and you can grab on, and I think that's the view about the happiness.
That's really beautiful that you're kind of putting it in those ways. It's almost like each of us are a celestial star on our own path. And it's interesting as I'm reading your book
Hmm.
and as you're sort of describing this concept, it's almost understanding without judgment, right?
Yes.
When we
Hmm.
think of 8 million kami,
Hmm.
and we recognize that each person is sort of on their own journey,
Hmm.
there's not a lot of judgment that's
No.
happening there.
Yeah.
And you've also described sort of this perspective as a spiritual toolbox, right?
Hmm.
And being able to be open to receive what might be working for somebody else
Yes.
and going to it as your life is needed,
Yes.
right? One of the also beautiful parts about that is as this culture is sort of being very receptive to other ideas of thought, it's
Hmm.
all in service of somebody else, or how
Hmm.
can I serve someone else better? And I
Hmm.
just thought that that was like a really beautiful message.
Yeah. To us, I think that our spirituality is a spiritual tool. Just take it, and if it doesn't work, just let them go. As for now, I think my biggest goal is the concept of 7 gods of happiness. It's Shifukujin in Japanese. So the spiritual deities, 7, like a Go Rangers, you know what I mean? But anyway, each deity represents a different background. There's male, female, elderly, and different countries. And I'm only one who's Japanese, has a Japanese background. And everybody else is just from, it's different countries or different beliefs, Buddhism, Taoism. But they are riding on a same boat and smiling. Each deity is different at the Shigendo temples. But when New Year's comes, they come together. You will see the illustrations of Shifukujin, the 7 gods of happiness, riding on the boat and sail everywhere. Illustrations and keychains and talismans and whatever. You see it everywhere in Japan. The only purpose, one purpose, is brings you fortune, happiness, good luck. So everybody knows that we are in a really difficult time. I think it's a quiet reminder that we can still peacefully exist, even though different things, different background, and have a joy. It makes you smile. I mean, if you see those guys, they're kawaii the cuteness, in their drawings, and you will love it. Anyway, that is my the biggest tool right now. But of course, it's not the only one. One of the tools that I have.
You're really kind of bringing that mindset in your book of being really receptive. And again,
Mm-hmm.
you even mentioning just, the state of where we're at sort of in society right now. I do
Mm-hmm.
think it's a really great example of just the openness and receptive and really
Mm-hmm.
just the heart of where all of this is in just service
Right.
of you, your family,
Yes.
respected kami that are around us
Yes.
and just other humans in general. I think it's a
Yes.
really beautiful concept.
Yeah. So I also wrote this in my book.
Yeah.
I talked to a Shinto priest
Mhm.
and what kami means to him,
Mm.
and he said that kami are a space in your heart, and you are the one who fills the space. And he loved the concept of 8 million spiritual beings, Yaoyorozu no Kami, because, you can choose, find anything you like to show appreciation to. It could be the beautiful sky, the beauty, honest of lightning, or, the livelihood, you find your newborn baby. So that is something that is actually reasons and why I wrote this book in English, which is
Yes.
my foreign language. but I found that through my spiritual journey after my mother's passing, I realized that there were so many things are not which are not just limited to Japanese people, but I found that there are anybody with any background in the world.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
the Shinto is if you translate as is, Shinto means the way of kami, the
Mhm.
way. So it's a lifestyle.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Most of us spend more time at work than anywhere else doing anything else. So why not spend that time in a job you love? Introducing Triad's Jobs Marketplace, the only job site dedicated specifically to behavioral and mental health professionals. Featuring more than 1,000 open jobs from dozens of behavioral and mental health employers, and searchable by location, professional field, employment type, specialization, and more. Jobs Marketplace helps you find your next career opportunity. Full-time, part-time, or gig time, make the most of your time. To access Jobs Marketplace, register for your free professional account at hellotriad.com/BHT. That's hellotriad.com/BHT, and then click to Jobs Marketplace. If you're already a member of the Triad community, visit app.hellotriad.com/jobs. That's app.hellotriad.com/jobs. Visit us today and take your next career step tomorrow.
Now, I want to kind of park on something that you mentioned. You
Mm-hmm.
talked a little bit about being able to cultivate gratitude, right?
Yes.
And I know in your book, you're also tackling the concept or some of the feelings around grief, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially after your mother's passing.
Yes.
And you describe these as moving pieces. You describe your grief as a doorway rather
Yes.
than an ending. So I
Yes.
want to ask you, how does Japanese spirituality help people hold sorrow and
Mm-hmm.
gratitude together?
Right. Okay. So when my mother passed away, I fell into absolute darkness. It was just massive blow, massive. So it wasn't spirituality
Mm.
that I tried to seek. I was just desperate to get out of this darkness. I didn't know what to do.
Mm.
So what I did was taking a walk, taking a walk, and it's just every day. At the very beginning, it was a bit short. I just got out, came back, and just cried. But then every day, and then I just started, doing something that I couldn't do the previous day, like
Yes.
looking up,
Mm.
paying attention on what's happening around me. And then I found that it was fall. So the color of leaves changing every day, the birds are flying, and ants are crawling on the ground. And I found that, I thought I was totally alone, but then I found I wasn't alone. If I open my eyes, it's just full of lives around me. And then also, the nature taught me that the branch, all the leaves are falling. It looked like dead, but it's not. It's actually, there's the tiny buds. They're waiting for the spring to bloom. And that taught me that I thought my mother's death was absolutely ending, but it's a part of life because she gave me birth. So her passing was absolute grief. But then I realized her death gave me a different perspective, which is life. And I'm here because of her. So then I realized that, kami, spiritual beings in our culture belonged to nature. So what I was doing was touching on my culture. So then I started doing heavy research and contextualizing my background. So that's the process. The Japanese spirituality just helped me out without my noticing it. Nothing. Because I took everything granted. The trees are there, the wind's blowing, of course. But I found that how kind nature was. It's always there. Always.
Yes.
And it teaches me a lot of things.
That's a beautiful story of transcendence, of really just being in a dark place and giving maybe a gentle shove into this greater connection of cosmos and recognizing that the gentle nudge opened up so much more to you afterwards.
Yes.
And being able to hold the sorrow from your mother's passing, but also hold the gratitude of something much larger than yourself.
Yes.
That's really a profound story of transcendence.
Yeah, but it's not, Japanese culture. That's something that all of us can share. It's just every day, it's just so busy, the busy modern life. Easy to forget the big picture. So just taking a walk. It's such a simple thing, but, iPhone out, just no connection to internet, just taking a walk and have a moment and give yourself a moment. And then we can learn or realize a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Going and highlighting one of the stories that you talked about earlier and also mentioning from the book, the New Year, right? And the ritual of attending a temple as a family, right? And you're talking in your book about rituals that bond people rather than divide us. And you've mentioned on this before about, sort of the state of the world right now. But what do you think that those rituals can teach us now?
Yeah, well, it's a big subject.
Yeah.
Big subject to us, and not religious at all to vast majority of Japanese people, because we have to touch on the word religion. That's another good example to create misunderstanding because of the different culture. The word shukyo is Japanese for religion, but the shukyo, the religion, that word was a new term. It was coined in the late 19th century. Japan was closed for many years. And then black ship came, and then Japan opened up the border, and then a lot of Western concept came in, flooded. In concept of constitution, bank, beef, and religion. So the Japanese created the word for religion, shukyo. So the word shukyo to us is a Judeo-Christian worldview. Once again, hierarchy, absolute God, single God, worship, dogma. But it's different from what we have. As I said, that we are surrounded by many temples and shrines, and it open to everybody. And so we just go. That's what we do to show respect. then it just didn't leave. So it's not isolating action
Right.
because when you go there, at least like for me, it's just that I have to appreciate infinite things out there, but it's not Japanese things. Anybody can do that. Anybody can do, because nature is not limited to Japanese people. So what I wanted to say, that temples and shrines are tools for us.
Yes.
It's just a space. So that means you can do that anywhere, even, sitting at the desk. And there are also the spirits of man-made objects. And it's not nature, it's man-made objects. But once again, we don't believe, that, say, laptop, it has a soul, okay? but it's a tool to make your life easier, easier. So without that, there is no connection between you and I. And okay, this laptop didn't come out of the blue. Somebody created, they put them together on the parts. Each part is created by other people.
Yes.
So if you start seeing that way, you can see the connections of people. So when you're sitting all by yourself, by myself, talking to you, I'm still by myself. But if I started seeing things that way, I belong to bigger system or much bigger thing, which is humanity, people, society, the world.
Yes.
And that's a powerful thing, even just a laptop.
Yes. Yeah. It is powerful. It is powerful when you have those reminders of being connected to something greater. I think it unlocks a little bit more sensitivity and a little bit more humanity in ourselves. I think that it's a wonderful, wonderful mindset and outlook here.
Yes.
I know in your book, you shared beautiful practices for welcoming the new year, from asoji cleaning to ringing bells to greeting the first sunrise. If somebody could choose one, what practice best captures the spirit of joy that you're writing about, and why?
I would say, if you ask me,
Yes.
osoji, big cleaning. But it doesn't have to be big cleaning. It's just clean up your desk as a little present for me tomorrow. Because when I sit down on a computer, nice to have a clean desk. So cleaning, and we can expand the definition of cleaning. The target of cleaning, of course, dust bunnies. Okay, you have to clean it up. But also the quote unquote impurities of your mind, negative feelings, fear, frustrations, anger. Those things are just part of our life. Life is up and downs, of course. So we have to deal with them, right? It just gives yourself a cup of coffee, or taking a walk, or taking a nice hot bath. Anything that soothes you. It's cleaning your impurities of your mind.
Yeah, again, it could be so basic, but I love in that practice that sort of recognizing the feelings that the space that we cultivate for ourselves can sort of change or enhance our mood, right?
Yes.
And even how that can go to greater concepts like cleaning your soul or your mood. I think that these are beautiful practices. It's just a gentle reminder of how we can not only feel empowered to control our spaces, but how those spaces around can kind of affect us.
Yes. Yeah. And then also I'd like to share with you that there's also kami of words we speak. And it's called kotodama, the word spirits. And it's a gentle reminder that the people in the past knew how powerful the word can be. That angry words makes angrier. Negative words, negative words, or the words of, the gratitude makes you happy. It's easy to do, that before you say something that, at least I do this, I kind of remind myself, that, okay, it will affect me too, because my ear is closest to my mouth. And so there's a lot of stuff that we, it's the small things.
Yes.
It's small things in our daily, very powerful in either way, negative, positive, happy and sad. So yeah.
It's very interesting, as you're kind of talking about this. I
Yes.
know you have a story in the book of how there is a small shrine at a crosswalk, right?
Mhm.
And that's just enough of a reminder
Yes.
that there is something larger that sort of connects us all,
Yes.
and something larger that is deserving of our respect.
Yes.
And again, it's just a very different practice from what we see here in the West,
Mhm.
where it has to be done in a house of worship, and there's these
Mhm.
giant temples, or these grand displays of our respect for divinity. I
Mhm.
think when we start to mind down, practices can be very, very small, but can make a big difference. And when you're
Yes.
sort of surrounding yourself and recognizing the scale, again, 8 million kami, I think it connects us more to this greater celestial cosmos
Yes,
than we
absolutely.
might be limiting. And I think in your book, it's sort of a gentle nudge that there can be other ways for us to sort of connect to ourselves, to our communities, to the spiritual pantheon that we might not recognize. We might be limiting ourselves.
Yes. And also the ones that the example that you mentioned wasn't counted the number, the
Mm,
official number
yes.
of temples and shrines.
Yeah.
There are you will see when you come to Japan. You see small effigies on the road,
Mhm.
or you see the tiny shrines on the top of almost all mountains. Those are not counted as the number. The number three, the number I mentioned before, is just officially registered.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so when people abroad ask me, what those kind of holy grounds to me, and then one of the answer is that I see it as a time machine.
Mm.
I mean, I understand that buildings deteriorate, the time goes, of course, but the spot was there for a very long time. I mean, some like 1,000 years.
Yes.
And then if you start thinking that way, yeah, it's a connection to the people in the past.
Past, yeah.
Even tiny refugee, tiny, I mean 1 foot. But if you start seeing that way, there's somebody put it up for some reason, and then it's then stayed there because people today keep taking care of somehow, and then just there.
Yeah. It's very interesting, even just what you're describing there, because in your book, you talked about how even before there were temples and shrines,
Mhm.
there was a recognition of certain formations on Earth that then were considered holy. So
Yes.
being able to not even just connect with the history of say like that deity or that
Mhm.
temple, it even goes farther into just the connection with the land.
Yes. So I think personally, the place where I love, it's just no shrine buildings. There's a place in just rock. It's just a rock. But I think that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. And it's anything that gives you feeling of awe, anything that gives you the feeling of gratitude, it's a holy spot for you.
Yeah, it's an invitation to kind of plug back in spiritually.
Mhm. Yes.
So I know, talking about this concept of plugging back in,
Mhm.
you remind readers this concept that they're never alone, right? Even explore some of the concept of darkness, right? And
Mhm.
unseen helpers.
Yes.
So as we sort of wind up today, for
Mhm.
somebody that might be feeling disconnected or overwhelmed,
Yes.
how might you encourage them to plug back in with some of the concepts that you're laying out in your book?
I would say just take a walk.
Mm.
Take a walk and give yourself a quiet moment alone. And then you find something. You will find something that affects you. Even darkness. In a concept, in the darkness, the concept, in West tends to be negative. But in Japan, it's negative, but also positive too. I know in my experience that the darkness in English, tends to connects to nothingness, sense of void,
Sure.
in totally negative. But in Japanese spiritual worldview, the darkness, you find something good or helpers out of the darkness. Yeah. So in my book, and I used the example of Totoro. I know that Totoro is a cartoon, but Totoro popped out from, the dark place to make, the protagonist smile. And that's one of the examples. You find something, even darkness. So take a walk. And that's how we did. And it really helped. And it helps even today.
Yeah. Yeah. Our bodies are kind of biologically wired to reconnect within nature. So these concepts really ripple out.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Hiroko, I've so enjoyed our time today. And again,
Thank
just
you
the
so much.
opportunity to read your book. I've so appreciated just this cultural mindset of Japan and its relationship to spirituality and this invitation that, there are millions and millions of spirits for us to reconnect with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the talk too.
Before you go, where can our listeners learn more about your book, 8 Million Ways to Happiness, Japanese Rituals for Joy and Renewal, as well as your other work? Where can they go to follow up?
Yes, I have an author website, hirokoyoda.com. But the best place is my newsletter. It's called Japan Happiness. And it's at blog.hirokoyoda.com. And I also do Instagram. I mean, really tiny. It's small scale. But it's, HI_Yoda_1, number 1.
Yeah,
and just
perfect.
please drop by and say hi.
Awesome. Well, I'm hoping that our listeners will have a chance to connect with you. Yeah. Otherwise, Hiroko, this was a great to meet you, and I've so
Yeah, nice to meet
appreciated our
you.
talk today.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
very
much. Thank you for interest.
Thank you. And I want to thank you, our listeners, for taking the time to join us. You can follow us on our social media at Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, and more at Behavioral Health Today. If you like our show, please give us 5 stars and leave us a review. And as always, the resources for this episode and an archive of all of our other episodes can be found on our webpage at tryithq.com/BHT. And we look forward to having you back with us next time on Behavioral Health Today. We appreciate all the support from our community, and if you like our show, one of the best ways you can support it is by giving us a 5-star rating and leaving a review. Behavioral Health Today is a podcast part of the Tried Behavioral Health Network, all rights reserved.